Our eminent speaker, Mr. Roger Dirksmeier, is Managing Director, Rail Systems, FOGTEC, Brandschutz, Graham. After studying vehicle engineering in Cologne, Germany, specializing in track-guided vehicles as well as traction technologies, and working for Deutsche Bahn AG, he joined FOGTEC beginning 2001 to develop the market of rolling stock applications for FOGTEC. His current positions, Managing Director, Rail Systems, and member of the board, shareholder of FOGTEC, Chairman of the SME Committee of UNIFE, member of the Presiding Board of UNIFE, Vice President of International Monorail Association, Vice President of Interdisciplinary Railway Research Association. And a very warm welcome to you, sir.
I'm Dirksmeier, the Managing Director of FOGTEC Fire Protection, and I would welcome you to this session in this crazy times, in this sometimes hard times to stay at home, to make the world still running in such curious conditions. So I would like to give our best regards and our greetings here from the TV studio, podcast studio of FOGTEC Fire Protection in Cologne, Germany, and give my best regards to all my Indian friends and colleagues, and hopefully also a lot of future customers. As the introduction was done already, I thank you very much for the kind way in doing that. I jump over about the slide and would like to move to my agenda, which is that I will explain a little bit more about the status quo, how does the EN 45545 is developing right now, just making a short jump to other standards in fire protection for rolling stock, and then I would like to give some topics on new energy carriers, means new challenges in fire protection. To give a most actual overview about the really during these days running activities in the regarding the EN 45545, the working group called CEN-TC 256, the working group 01, started their work end of last year and is now starting to review part by part of the standard. So actually, first work was done for EN 45545 part 2, and then I will give a short overview about the complete revision work, and at the end I have one special topic on EN 45545 and ISO TS 269. The working group 01 is responsible for fire protection topics in rolling stock in the standardization work, and it's doing the revision work on all parts of the EN 45545, whereby part 5 and partly part 2 will be also supported with from the Senelec committee. Actually, there are 3 task forces in place: Task Force Toxicity, Task Force SEEDS, Task Force FCCS, which means Fire Containment and Control Systems, where already a pre-EN is in preparation, called 17532, and there's a new task coming up for numeric fire simulation. This working group was also working for the publishing of the standards for SEEDS, new number EN 16989, and the toxicity standards published under the number EN 17084. Phase 1 of the revision work of EN 45545 part 2 is already done and is published as EN 45545 part 2 2020. What does it mean exactly? Because in Europe we have still the situation that the law-driven technical specification for interoperability are referring to the EN 45545 from 2013 with the annex of 2015. So in this way, still this standard is applicable, and for non-TSI vehicles, it's you already can start to use the new standard. It means for non-TSI rolling stock, the former standard 2013 as well as the 2020 version can be used. For TSI rolling stock, you have to use the old version of 2013 and 2015. The applicability at the end will be finally specified by the contractual partners or the legislative authority. The working group 01 is actually proposing to make use of a transitional period to transfer these standards into the right level. How does such a revision work is running? So a periodic survey after 5 years will be done always to validate against the experience which were collected with the standard and further needs for development. For the review and revision work, a consensus is requested and mostly appreciated. Parts to be reviewed have to be agreed, and to work on all parts, a formal basis already done for the next term means now all parts will be started to review again. Part 3 and Part 4 are already started with commenting phase and first discussion phase. I think in March next round will be on European level on taking care of about the first parts which are with comments right now. There's also one amendment to the EN 45545 Part 2 2020 proceeding, means there's a correction of this part already in place, which is running through right now. We have additionally one specific topic on the EN 45545. As the working group did a survey, it's a committee and all the experts working on that is in favor to transfer the EN 45545 to an ISO standard to make it as a worldwide standard applicable. And after very intensive discussions with very positive response, also first steps are done in this for this activity. And so now the next steps now are the application for the related work items in ISO TC 269, and then to set up a specific working group to transfer the EN standards to the ISO standards. But additionally, we have also other fire protection standards in the world. It's not only about EN 45545. We have the NFPA 130, the standard for fixed guideway, transit and passenger rail systems, depending in which areas you want to apply your systems, your trains. And the big difference between NFPA 130 and EN 45545 is especially that the NFPA standard is taking care about the whole system of railway, means the underground, platforms, stations, trains, and so on. This standard is in place since 1982. The actual current version is from 2020, and there's a 3 years revision cycle on the standard, which means it helps to keep it always up to date. And this is a very interesting and good working procedure in FPA standards and regulations to bring it always to the right level. We can see quite big differences on some topics between NFPA and EN standard, but in generally the understanding on fire protection is quite similar in this way, that for railway vehicles, because EN is only referring here to railway vehicles, there is a quite good overview in Chapter 8, which makes it a little bit comparable if you want to proceed with your products, components and systems to US or NFPA-driven markets instead of the EN standard. Additionally, there is a task for all the material demonstrations, material testing with the institutes, as the NFPA standard is following the different rules. A big topic now actually for NFPA 130 is that up to now there were not so much active fire protection system involved, only in an annex, Annex G, automatic fire suppression systems here mainly for passenger area are mentioned, and describing that such systems can limit fire growth and were provided also to vary in the design of underground stations and others to reduce ventilation systems, to influence the design of stations. So a quite big area of compensation measures is given here in the standard. Traditionally, such vehicles, transit vehicles, are with two-car designs, and there's a big discussion now to open them also to an open gangway philosophy, because mostly up to now cars are closed by each of themselves, but now following more and more also open gangway philosophy, means also to set up a new regulation how to spread smoke and fire, how to avoid the spreading of smoke and fire from one car to the other. So for 2023, there will be also a big part taking care about gangway, open gangways. One standard has to be mentioned as it's really unique in the world, the Italian standard UNI, which is referring to water mist systems and fire detection system on trains, as in 2005 the Italian government released after the big tunnel fire a standard that all railway vehicles which runs through a tunnel longer than 1 kilometer must be equipped with a fire detection system and a fire extinguishing system, whereby this has to be done with water mist in the passenger area. And so based on that, it was necessary to set up a standard how such system has to be installed and to implement it. Also, the validation of the system and the maintenance of the systems are described in the standard, and the first version was published in 2014. The actual version is running from is valid since 2016, and a new revision is planned for Q3 in 2021. Last but not least, then we have the ARGE guidelines, which are referring to the whole validation and verification procedure of such systems. Mentioning NFPA, EN, and all the other in the back, there's one big gap actually. There's no way of verification and validation of the standards described right now. So in 2002, a working group started to set up the ARGE guidelines and published the first version in 2007. Actual version is revision 5 from 2018, which is still valid, and is describing in part 1 how to implement and to test a fire detection system in railway vehicles, in part 2 the fire fighting systems in railway vehicles, and in part 3 system functionality for firefighting and fire detection systems, how to transfer messages, how to design the human interfaces also. Later on, you can see also on the slides a little bit more in detail what is the difference about and how to test with the smoke test to verify fire detection system in passenger area, to check the water mist system, for example, for the passenger area, and what are the requirements for the system functionality. At the end of my presentation, I just would like to give a short overview about some new risks and new challenges coming up, as none of these standards is taking care about that, but people, operators, companies are trying to get more and more green with a good environmental footprint. And so gas-driven by hydrogen, for example, battery-driven trains, buses, cars are coming to the market, whereby this part of energy traction energy is not finally on a very good base regarding the fire protection. So fire protection-wise, there's a big gap in knowledge along the whole supply chain, the whole life cycle of such systems. So there's a lot of research work which is still open and have to be done. One of the major and most important projects is and was the Sovereign project, which is taking care about safety of urban underground structures due to the use of new energy carriers. This project is organized and done by the BAM, which means the Federal Institute for Material Testing, FOGTEC Fire Protection, and the underground SUFA means the underground of the association, which is supported and with funded money also from the Ministry of Education and Research. In this project, which run in first step through 3 years, associated partners like Ineris, CETU, Deutsche Bahn, and the Fire Brigade of Munich were involved, and subcontractors like Ineris and IFAB were doing the big fire test to check the impact and the influence of new energy carriers to the fire scenarios. The motivation for this is, as we said already, the increasing number of new energy carrier vehicles in public transportation and mobility, but the low level of knowledge on risk and impact of such new energy carrier traction. And we still have, as we already said, also gaps in standards and missing regulation. If we speak about new energy carriers, that means we speak about battery-driven vehicles, under pressure stored gas-driven vehicles, as well as liquid biofuel vehicles. And just to give a very short impression, two short videos how such systems could run if they are not handled right. First one was a hydrogen-driven bus. And second one is just to show how accumulator could influence his surroundings. Do not think, please, that I want to make everybody worry about fire protection or the risk of such technology, as I think it's necessary to have them in future, but it's very important to get them under the right control, to bring them to the right guidelines, to handle them in the right way. And for this missing knowledge, actually, in combination with new risks, there's a very big need of research. And for this, exactly this project Sovereign is running, which will follow up with full-scale big fire tests in near future. So have a look to that on the homepage, a web page, which you can see here, sovereign/nec.info, and take your additional information out of the new energy carrier topics. This was just a fast run through some guidelines and risks, challenges coming up for us as a fire protection company. In our case, the world leading company for fire protection and rolling stock applications. And I would really appreciate to get your attention to this topic, and I'm here for your questions, being available, and let me know if we can do something for you. You can find our contacts here on the last page through LinkedIn or by email, or of course, do any inquiry requests through our webpage. Thank you very much. Stay healthy, take care, and please let's move the world, even if we are a little bit slowed down altogether by this situation, actual situation. But if we do take care in the right way altogether, I'm sure we will manage also the situation like we do manage all these risks and challenges in the future in our field. Thank you very much. Best regards from Germany to India, and stay healthy.